Hi, welcome everyone. As you can see, I'm in a different surrounding tonight. For those of you that don't know, I'm back up north visiting my family. This is my mother's house. So a little bit of a different background. And I want to thank you for joining me tonight. We have our Soul Support bi-monthly healing tonight. And tonight's topic is parent-adult-child triangle. And I wanted to get started right on time because there's a lot that we're going to be looking at tonight. So let me explain to you what the parent-adult triangle is. If you can imagine a triangle with 3 points, of course, there is a point that represents your parent information, another point that represents your information on being an adult, and then your information on being a child. And what we're going to do is clean out those 3 points as well as clean out the connecting lines between each of them. And what that does is it allows you to slide back and forth easily from your information on being an adult to being a child to being a parent. And so this is cleaning out the communication that you have with all of your information on those 3 points. So this is I'm very excited to do this healing. I'm going to go ahead and get started by saying a prayer and setting the energy. As we cleanse and heal the temple of the soul, may it be with the blessing of divinity, that it shine its countenance upon us and bring us peace in body, mind, and spirit. Amen. All right, let's get started. I'm going to start with the parent point. And the way that I'm doing this healing is a collective of everybody in the sanctuary, and not just those that are on the call tonight, but everybody that's a member in the sanctuary. So even if you can't make the call, you're still getting the healing. And I will be posting this probably tomorrow on my YouTube channel and sending everybody a link. Okay, let's get started. Boy, there is a lot of energy on the parent point. It looks to me like it's a medium blue, but there's a lot of dark energy on it. And the very first thing that I see in the parent information is conflict. And that looks like it comes from your parents and your parents' parents. So that's the first thing I'm going to be clearing is conflict. So also, as the conflict is coming out, there's a hurt or a pain coming out about not having clear communication. And that looks like it is not just clear communication between you and a parent, your parent information and your parents, but also you and a child. And there's a lot of worry coming out. Now, this worry to me looks like your parents' worry. This is a white energy. Oh my gosh, there are so many topics of worry in here. It's unbelievable. Worry about safety, health, finances, from the parent perspective. There's also a lot of, I want to call it well, I'm going to go ahead and call it like old-fashioned programming. And that is from the generations above you and their parent information. And a lot of it is very heavy and lacking in communication or lacking in clear communication. So that's a very dark energy that's coming out. So dark brown. And then there are different energies about how to parent. So it's kind of a broad range of like tough love, everything from the spectrum from tough love to I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt my child. And by the way, even if you are not a parent this lifetime or yet, this is your spiritual information on parenting that you've gathered from the lifetimes that you've been on the planet prior to this one. There's some hopelessness energy coming out, and also the feeling that your parenting information is never good enough. And as that clears, there's a sweetness that I can see in the pure energy of parenting. That would be the blue that I was looking at. There's frustration coming out, but there's also feelings of being outdone by your child, that the child moving ahead of you and your information faster than you can believe. And it's interesting because this particular point has a relationship to the third chakra, which is in your solar plexus. And that third chakra governs your willpower. And so there is some energy in the parenting point that has to do with trying to overcome a child, trying to overcome their willpower. And I would like to say that as the energy that was like lack of communication in there, as that clears, it opens up to a lot of very beautiful multicolored colors that represent very good communication. And I really see that that's a big difference from the generation above and the generation above that, how the communication has improved. There is a sadness coming out from loss of children, and that's a combination of when the children fly the nest, and also children that have been lost, where the child has taken its next step out of the body. So I'm going to take a moment to clear this. And then there are energies and pictures about um, being older parents, because now we can have children at a much older age than our parents' generation did. And I see some pictures and energy and concerns about that as well. Now, when I turn to look, or I should say, I'm going to turn and look to parenting of yourself. This is a much kinder, gentler energy. It's really interesting because the first thing I notice is that there's more tolerance in you parenting yourself than the information on parenting a child. Whereas the parenting of children had a lot of energy in the third chakra, this one I see energy in the heart chakra. And that's because your information on self-affinity is in that heart chakra. There's also the energy of slacking off and parenting yourself. And there's a lot more, maybe rigidity might not be the right word. That might be a little too harsh, but there is a difference in the parenting of children as opposed to the parenting of yourself. There's a lot more leniency in parenting yourself. And what also is really interesting to me is that the information on parenting a child vibrates more at a male vibration, and the information that you have on parenting yourself vibrates much more at a female vibration. And you can see it in the color, because the color of parenting yourself is like a coral pink. There's a lot of nurturing information that's starting to show up now, a lot, and it's a beautiful, like, antique gold with green. I just saw something flying out about parenting a child, and it was, what do I do when my child is smarter than me? How do I control a child? How do I discipline the child? So that was a concern about when the children become smarter than you. And now I'm running into some leftover anger from you being parented. That has wound up in the parent point. I suspect we'll find some more of that in the child point as well. And then the last energy I'm going to clear is unconscious energy, and it has to do with it being difficult sometimes to access your parent information because things get so, um, the word that comes up is crazy or fast paced. And when you're parenting, it's so fast paced that it's hard for you to access your information. So there's a lot of pain there, and there's a lot of white unconscious energy that's going to come out. Like there's no time to really catch your breath or sit and think things out. Everything is very fast paced. Okay, so there's another energy I'm going to clear, because after the unconscious energy came out, now I can see how much concern is in the parent point about, am I doing the right thing? Am I parenting in the appropriate way? Am I parenting in a manner that's going to be healthy and helpful for my child? All right. And there's a desire coming out. Well, I should say the desire to break away from some of your parents' parenting information. That's coming out. That's a dark energy that's coming out. I've had my eye on that dark energy since the beginning, and it's taken a while to get to it. So that is the energy of you choosing to step out of your agreements with your parents so that you change how you parent your own children and wind up parenting differently. That actually changed the color of that point to a bright spring green. So I'm going to fill that point in with a big gold sun. And the next point is the adult point. Well, it's nice to see something positive and refreshing because what I see here is accomplishment and the pride of accomplishment as an adult and the validation that you get from being productive in the manner in which you set out to be this lifetime. So there's a lot of validation for achieving your spiritual goals as well as your material goals in the adult space. There's a lot of competition in this point of other people trying to tell you what they think you should be doing, or disagreeing with what you've chosen to do. This is friends and family. There's a lot of male energy in this point too. I'm just going to ground that to equalize it. And the other thing that's really cool in here is choices. So there's a lot of choices available for you as an adult compared to you as a parent or as a child. And in this point, there are safety concerns for yourself. And that's so interesting because as a child, you count on your parents to provide that safety for you. And as a parent, your concerns are more about the safety of your child. So I really do see where, as an adult, that happens, that becomes your concern for yourself. A lot of energy concerning work in this particular point. A lot of energy. It almost consumes this point. And a lot of that energy is not light. It's brown. And I want to help you clear that. And with that energy of work coming out, demands and obligations are also coming out. And expectations. And I also see you putting, I guess pressure would be the word I would use, on yourself, being hard on yourself as an adult. And we want to clear that so that you can bring in some joy and fun as an adult. There's also energy in here about being able to drink and smoke as an adult, and adult-like behavior like that. And those energies are in there almost like a badge of honor, like I earned the ability, or I earned the space to be able to choose if I want to drink or smoke. And once I cleared the work energy, the next level in the adult point has to do with relationships and the amount of time that is devoted to relationships as an adult. And as an adult, there's a greater value for friendships and relationships. And I also find in this point that you're hard on yourself. And the anger that I find in this point is directed at yourself. And I'm going to help you clear that. This has to do with your anger at falling short of expectations. And also, what I see is like an inability to forgive oneself. So while I'm working on this point, I'm going to ask Supreme Being to come in and give a forgiveness healing to the adult information. Supreme Being is reminding you in this healing that there is no such thing as judgment in the spirit world, and that the things that you hold against yourself have been created to learn and grow from. And there's a healing going on right now to bring absolution to those places that you hold something against yourself. There's some nice consideration and compassion coming into this point. And there's some funny pictures in here about not showing emotions, not having the same permission to be emotional, let's say as a child, and where that pictures of like that being inappropriate. So there's energy that limits you and the full scope of your emotional range. And I actually see some of that's going to get cleaned out in the child point when we get to that, because there's some pain in there from childhood. I'm going to work on that right now, but I think it's going to come up again in the child part. There is a disconnect in this point with Supreme Being. So I'm going to also ask Supreme Being to come in and do a healing to create that communication line from the crown to a gold sun that represents Supreme Being, and bring that point of information back into communication with divinity. And as that healing's going on, loneliness is coming out, where you feel that divinity has left you or forgotten you or is not listening and delivering what you ask for. So all of that's coming out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start to fill that point in with some gold. And that there's really a lot of validation in that point now. That and different colored energies. So I don't really see it as a solid color, but more multicolored and sparkling. Okay, we're going to move on to the child point. Tantrums, tantrums, tantrums. That's the first energy I see that gets between you and your child information. And a lot of that tantrum energy is you as a child trying to figure out how to work as a spirit with a physical body, and also how to try to communicate to adults from a child's amount of information. Because it really takes about 20, like into your early 20s, for all of your information to get into your body. There's the energy of sneakiness and manipulation coming out of your child information. And that's actually rather impressive, because it's where you learn how to get what you need, especially if you don't have all the tools that the adults around you have. And I'm going to devote a few minutes here to the wounded child within. There's the energy of feeling victimized coming out of here, as well as helplessness and frustration. And this wounded part of you that I'm calling the wounded child within, it actually has like a hardened shell around it, almost like scabs that over the years have just been worn off and then grow back, worn off and grow back. So like within that is a dark cluster of pain and pictures that I'm going to say hello to and see if we can't move some of that out. That's great. That's great. That's coming out. And what I see underneath that, once that dark energy is gone, is how creative your information is in your child point. It's amazing. It's bright, buoyant, cheerful, radiant, multicolored. It's like looking at colored glitter. That's what it looks like. And the other thing that's interesting, I've never really looked at this before, is that when you're a child, you don't have all of your energy in your body and you spend a lot of your time going out and coming back in. Well, when you go out, you're going out on the astral a lot. And that's where we do all of our creating. And in order to get something in the material world, you have to bring what it is that you saw or imagined out on the astral into the body in order to turn it into a mental image picture that you can send out to the universe for it to come back to you. And so as a child, you're spending a lot more time out of your body. And that's where a lot of that creativity comes from. Plus, you don't have all the pictures that you have once you're an adult or a parent that inhibit that really high energy vibration of creativity. You have amazing information on healing yourself in your child point. The healing energy is off the charts. It's deep, rich yellow gold, very radiant. And then there's the energy of constantly being told what to do, what to do and what you're not supposed to do. And that's in that space. So I'm going to work on that. It's a really interesting dichotomy because as a child, you have all of this wonderful freedom. And then you have parents that are trying to shepherd that child to safety and to learn things that will help them in the world to protect themselves and learn right from wrong. So you have this freedom as a child, but also this energy coming in that's trying to mold you. And it's interpreted as a threat to freedom. And that's where the tantrums come from. So that just came back full cycle. And I'll just wrap up with this by saying there's a lot of love in this child point. A lot of information on giving and receiving. And a lot of information on joy. So I'm going to create a great big gold sun and fill that point in. And then I'm going to clean off the lines between the points on the triangle. The energy that's coming off between the parent and the child is accusatory energy. And from the child's perspective, being blamed. Good. We want to bring those lines up to gold. So that came up to gold. And now I'm going to do the line from the parent to the adult. The energy in this line has to do with, I'm trying to think of what the right word is, hardship. Hardship, moving back and forth between the parent point and the adult point. And that's because there's not a lot of nurturing in that adult point. And there's also worry on this line. That no matter which point you're in, the adult point or the child, excuse me, the parent point, that there's worry to be had in either point. So I'm clearing that. And interestingly, there's some low-level beings more on the parent side of that line connecting parent to adult that have to do with using low-level beings to try to control children. And that actually gets passed down from generation to generation. So I'm going to back those beings off and clear that from the communication line. Good. All right. Now I'm going to clean off the line from adult to child. For some reason, there's more of a disconnect between these 2 points than the others. And there's the energy of misunderstanding in there, misunderstanding between the adult and the child. And there's even a little bit of jealousy from the adult perspective, looking at the child with all of the freedom. If you don't create freedom for yourself, that's what I see. There's also the energy of being an adult and moving into the child space, or being with a child, of having to adapt to the child's timeline, or I should say, like, the child's pace at which they move through life. And then I also see the energy of some adults wanting to hide in the energy of their child information if they aren't grounding and keeping their adult space in an energy vibration that is enjoyable to them. And what's really beautiful about that healing is that it brings, like, once that line was connected at gold, it brought some of the child information into the adult point so that the adult could have some of that childlike wonder and fun and playfulness in their adult space as well. Ooh, that was fun. I'm going to just fill all of that in with gold now. All right. Now, that's all filled in with gold. And you might notice in the next couple of days that you'll have different pictures flying out of your space. So maybe you don't have children, but you might have pictures about parenting coming out of your space. So just be aware that for the next couple of days after this healing, you could have some interesting things coming up. And I'm going to go ahead and say hello to all of you and ground you for the next week. This was a big healing. I'm amused because a lot of energy came out. That's always a good thing. That was wonderful. When I grounded you and grounded the week ahead, you brought nurturing energy in. So that's wonderful. All right, I'm going to close that healing out. May it be with the blessing of divinity that this parent-adult-child triangle healing tonight be complete. Amen. All right, just have a few announcements about what's coming up. Next Monday, we have another healing, and it's an integrity healing. And that's in the sanctuary, and the healing is on the integrity of your physical body and the integrity of your spiritual body. And then also next Thursday is my Having It All class. And maybe you've taken Creative Genius in the past, maybe you've done mock-ups in the past, but it is such a good idea to stay on top of that and practice, practice, practice. So that's going to be an hour and a half of bringing abundance into your creative space. And we're going to do it 3 different ways: by cleaning out our Having It All gauge, by working mock-ups, and by learning a little bit about your creative process and cleaning that out. So I'm very excited about that class. That's Thursday night. And I'll be having my announcements coming out very soon. I've got them all ready for June, and I'll give you a little teaser. My monthly special for June is an astral body healing. Ooh, I can hardly wait. So I look forward to that. And if you'll keep an eye out for the mailer, I'll get that out in just a couple days so that you can see what's cooking up ahead. And thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you enjoyed the healing. And I will see you on Monday. All right, everybody. Bye. Good night.